teams a little concerned about their catchers because the Twins have both in the lineup. And the Royals are without a catcher with Miguel Olivo serving his suspension. And we are underway. Ryan Pena catching Gil Mesh today. Ball one on Denard Span, who has 2 bunt singles and a walk in the series. He has scored 1 run. 1 ball, 1 strike. That fastball coming in at 94 miles an hour. And nowadays, Jamie, you'd hate for pitchers and anyone involved to get too wrapped up in what the radar gun looks like. It's been like that for several years, but this might be one of those rare exceptions where everyone is going to be looking at that radar gun.
Yeah, they're going to be keeping a close watch on Gil Mesh today, and the radar gun is one way to do it. But you know, they're going to see where his velocity is, and because last game it was down quite literally in the low 90s, high 80s. So 94 is a good start.
That pitch at 95, so 2-2 on Span. And what Gil did in between his start on Friday at Pittsburgh, where he only went 5 innings, he just didn't throw at all for 2 days to allow his arm to recover.
And you find that a lot during the course of a season.
Good start, a cutter at 90, and Gil opens the game with a strikeout. 78 perfect degrees in Kansas City. A gentle breeze moving left to right might help the left-hand batters today. We started on time at 1:10. Time and temp brought to you by the parking spot. Easy to spot, easy to park. The parking spot at KCI. Matt Tolbert's first at bat of the series. No balls, 1 strike.
You know, Ryan, I was saying you'll find that as the season goes on, starting pitchers will cut their work out a lot in between starts. And some of them don't even throw sides as we go farther into the season.
And Gil admitted, and I'm sure this happens to most pitchers over the course of a long season, there just is a point every year where your arm doesn't feel right.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of toll going on in that arm with the starting pitcher, and there are certain points of the year you just cut back your work in between starts.
If Gil had a period of what he's going through now with his arm and didn't have 132 pitches 3 starts ago, this would be a story, and it probably isn't a story anyway. Gil with a chance to complete a shutout in front of the home crowd, and did shut out the Arizona Diamondbacks back on the 16th. But even pitchers in the game, Jamie, wouldn't you agree, when teams are paying very close attention to their pitch counts, they're going to have a dead arm period?
Absolutely. I mean, if you did not throw the 132, the dead arm might not be now, but at some point they're going to have it in the course of the season.
Also getting good bite on his curveball in the first inning. It's still 2-2 on Tolbert. Two very late swings. Tolbert last year played very well against the Royals. He had 450, filling in for AT KCA while he was in the minor leagues, and KCA is back in the minor leagues again. 3 different years where he has been the Twins' starting second baseman, but because of lack of production has ended up back in AAA. So an opportunity for Tolbert, who's out on a ground ball to Callaspo, and 2 away in the first inning. On defense for the Royals, DeJesus, Meyer, Bloomquist in the outfield. 3 straight starts in right for Bloomquist. Tien, Hernandez, Callaspo, Butler on the infield. And Ryan Pena behind the plate for Gil Mesh.
You know, Ryan, getting back to Mesh for a second, I'm a big believer in a lot of times in the course of the year when you have off days, they'll skip a 5th starter and they'll keep the other guys in their rotation. I'm a big believer in staying with the 5-man rotation. It's such a long year and a grind. Give them that extra day all the time whenever it rolls around. That way that off day is benefiting everybody in the rotation. And I'm a big believer in that. When I was coaching, we had to have many conversations about that.
And the other option is that the day off comes up and you just skip one of the guys. So one guy is going to get a big break and everyone else stays right on schedule.
Yeah, and the guy that gets the biggest break is usually the 5th starter who you're not worried about protecting anyway. you want to protect your money's in your 1 and 2 guys, so give them that extra day. Or in that way, it gives everybody an extra day. But the guys that are your high-priced guys never get that extra day.
Well, the Royals worried about Brian Pena. He is the only catcher on the roster today with Miguel Olivo's suspension, and he takes one off the coconut in the first inning. So picking up right where Olivo left off, Miguel this past month has taken more foul balls off of his shoulder, his wrist, his knee, his foot.
I agree. He really has. He's been taking a beating.
3-1 on Joe Mauer, just 1 for 8 in this series. The Royals have pitched him well. He has struck out twice. Also grounded into a big double play. That was on Monday night as the Twins were rallying in the 8th. That's a 2-out walk. So Mauer to first, and up comes Justin Morneau. Let's check in with Joel Goldberg.
Well, I'm up in Rivals, guys, and the Twins did not take batting practice today, but yesterday before we got up here for the pregame show, I'm told that somebody on the Twins actually hit a ball during batting practice all the way up here to Rivals. I know Jamie spends a lot of time on the pregame show up here. This is really far away. I'm pretty sure the guy at the plate right now would be the leading candidate for that, Justin Morneau, who has homers in both games, including last night's 426-foot shot. Haven't seen a ball in-game come up to Rivals yet, but maybe sometime soon. Hopefully not now, guys.
You know, you mentioned that the Twins didn't hit today, and I was looking. They're 10 and 18 in day games, and I know that's kind of a situation where they're probably trying to change something up, and they've probably been hitting on day games. Probably Gardy just said, we're going to do something different. We're playing so bad in the daytime. Let's do something besides hit on the field.
How does that affect when you take the field, though? You don't have your normal routine. You have to find another way to get the bones and the muscles loosened up.
Yeah, you do. I mean, as far as your swings go, every stadium has cages now. You can do that. But there is that routine. You like to get out and move around, and you kind of get out of it the days you don't hit.
Fastball in the mid-90s again from Mesh, and it's 1-2 on Morneau. Now that looks high, but Morneau's a big man. That's right across his belt.
That was a kind strike.
Now, I've always wondered about that, though, Jamie. I mean, if you judge that call based on where Pena caught it, it was high because it was up above his eyes, but that's across Morneau's belt.
Yeah, it is. And if you take a textbook-wise strike, that is a strike. But if that catcher reaches for a ball up a little bit, it's usually called a ball.
Curveball, smack foul past first base coach Jerry White, who plays the netting on the dugout sweep perfectly.
And then throws it away.
So Morneau with home runs Monday and Tuesday, 19 on the year. That's the third most in the American League, and 64 RBIs is the second most. And Gill gets him with a fastball at 95. So Gill looks sharp in the first. No score. Today he deals with Miguel Olivo being suspended for a game after an incident with Phil Cuzzy over the weekend in Pittsburgh. So today's You Call It, presented by Sprint. We'll ask you, should Miguel Olivo have been suspended? Text 432-432, enter keyword Royals followed by a space and then A or B. Today, if you have any comments and you'd like to text a comment along with your selection, go ahead and do that and we'll pass some of those along. Standard text rates apply. Oh, and 1 on David DeJesus. So just to clarify, 432-432, enter keyword Royals, a space, A, yes, deserve to be suspended, B, no, then another space if you want to add a comment. One and 1 to DeJesus, who's had an outstanding series at the plate. 4 hits, and 3 times he has lined to the outfield. 2-1 the count.
Well, we mentioned that left-handers hit Perkins well, so hopefully we can get off to a good start right here and see how DeJesus does.
Still 2-2. You know, Perkins does something that we don't see a whole lot of these days. He works from the middle of the rubber. Doesn't seem like someone's either on the first base side of the rubber or the third base side of the rubber, but he certainly doesn't take one side or the other to give him an advantage or a good angle on a righty or lefty.
Yeah, he's dead in the middle.
Still 2-2 on David. He's got his average up to 242. Royals face Perkins back on May the 2nd. Scored 5 runs against him in 6 innings. He had 10 hits against him over those 6 innings. Big bounce to Morneau, who backhands, hangs it in the air for Perkins. 1 away in the bottom of the first. Perkins, 26 years old, and as you know, Jamie, hails from the world-renowned academic and athletic institution, the University of Minnesota. I didn't need to tell you that. You knew that.
I did know that, yes. Right now, after you told me that, I know that.
First-round pick of the Twins.
So he's a Gopher.
He's a Gopher. First-round pick in 2004. He is also from Minnesota, the 27th native Minnesotan to play for the Twins.
You know, Ryan, for a cold weather school, they have had a lot of Major League ball players.
You're right.
Yeah. 2 in the Hall of Fame. Well, no, Molitor didn't go there, did he?
Yeah, of course he did.
He went there? Yeah.
We got 2 members of the 3,000 hit club.
Yeah, Winfield and Molitor. Yeah.
Terry Steinbach, who you played with in
Steiny,
Oakland.
great guy, yeah. No, Gopher, absolutely. I think his son's, I talked to him the other day, his son's going to go there next year.
Up the middle, Tolbert backhands, bobbles, and that cost him the play. So that one little juggle allows Bloomquist to reach with 1 out.
I tell you, Willie Bloomquist is always hustling. This guy, as soon as he steps on the field, wherever it is he's playing, wherever it is he's hitting, he's running somewhere.
Up the middle, Tolbert backhands, bobbles, and then cost him the play. So that one little juggle allows Bloomquist to reach with 1 out. That'll go down as an infield single. So 1 on 1 out, and now Billy Butler. Billy 2 out of 9 in the first 2 games of the series. A little bit outside. It has been a very typical Royals-Twins series. A 2-run game on Monday, 4-2 Royals. A 1-run game last night, 2-1 Twins. Willie has stolen 14 this year. He's been caught only twice.
And half of those have been against left-handed pitching, so he's not afraid to run against lefties.
Perkins coming off a win Friday at St. Louis, pitched very well, gave up a run on 4 hits in 7 innings. He had been on the disabled list for about a month. And the most troublesome inning for him this year has been the first inning. 11 starts, 12 earned runs. The Royals trying to make something happen with Bloomquist at first, 1 out. Billy into very shallow right. Long run in for Kadire, and Tolbert can't make the play. So 2 on, 1 out.
That's an awful tough play for the second baseman, Tolbert. I don't know what Michael Kadire was doing, but either he didn't see it right away, he didn't break in very well. Tolbert went out there a long ways.
So a couple of hits off of Matt Tolbert's glove in the bottom of the first inning. And that gets us to Jose Guillen.
I tell you, this series is very uncharacteristic of Minnesota. They've played some kind of shady defense, and they're number 2 in the league, 1 percentage point off of leading the American League in fielding percentage, and they haven't played that good a defense this series.
Gave the Royals a run on Monday night because of an error by Kadire, and Mike Redmond, the catcher, went out to talk to Perkins before throwing to Guillen. And that's a good veteran backup catcher there, who I'm sure is well aware of Perkins' struggles in the first inning, and reminding him that he's made good pitches to Bloomquist and Butler, just hasn't gotten good results. Jose 0 for 2 in this series. Wasn't in the game Friday, came on late last night. Perkins makes a great play, and Minnesota gets out of it with a 1-6-3 double play. No score at the end of 1. Second inning. Well, you can teach kids about value and about baseball this summer while they're out of school. Thursday nights at Kauffman Stadium are $3 youth nights, excluding that is, late September. You'll get 3 $3 view level infield tickets for kids 14 and under with every regularly priced ticket as Kadire launches it to left field and gone. Line drive that had hardly any arc to it at all. So after a scoreless first inning with a couple of strikeouts, Gil Mesh gives up a home run on the first pitch of the second inning. That's Kadire's 12th of the year.
That was a laser. And that's a concern. Gil Mesh has been giving up homers his last 3 starts. He had given up 2 all year, and now that's, 5 in his last 3 starts.
Yeah.
So that's a concern.
So 1-0 Minnesota. Now Joe Creedy's after the first pitch. Creedy scratched from the game on Monday because of a stiff lower back, and then was 1 for 4 last night. He's hit in 7 straight games. T in a third, and Creedy is the first out of the inning. Well, Gil on Friday at Pittsburgh just didn't have the normal command of his fastball, had a decent curve. And as Jamie said, giving up home runs, 2 to the Pirates. And the red flag was at the end of his outing, and the Royals were still in that game, but leaving after just 84 pitches in 5 innings, and then saying after the game that just didn't feel his normal arm speed. The ball just wasn't coming out of his hand. That seems to be the buzzword these days, watching the ball coming out of his hand. How's the ball coming out of his hand?
Yeah, that's a 2009 term.
Do you know what that means?
No. Aren't you supposed to?
I don't know. Well, I think I know enough of it to know that if it's coming out of his hand good, that's a good thing. And if it's not coming out of his hand good, well, then that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I can figure that out. Good curveball, 1-2 on Mike Redmond. I think the point was that even though he had a decent curveball against the Pirates on Friday without his fastball, who cares about a decent curveball?
The thing that was concerning in Pittsburgh was the guys that hit the home runs off him were not home run hitters. Kadire, he's a home run hitter. That's going to happen. But when he got beat in Pittsburgh, it was guys that hit 2 or 3 a year and got him.
Yeah, Niger Morgan hit his second, and Jason Jaramillo hit just his third. And a little half swing grounder back to Mesh. So after the Kadire home run, a couple of weak grounders from Creedy and Redmond, and 2 down to Carlos Gomez. Saturday afternoons were made for baseball, and this week Fox brings you the national game of the week, as the Tigers will be in Minnesota, or you might see the Dodgers and the Padres, or the Mets and Phillies. Fox Saturday Baseball this week at 3 p.m. Central on Fox. Carlos Gomez didn't mean to go around. 1 for 4 with a strikeout last night. Also had a couple of lineouts.
I tell you, if this guy ever figures it out, he's got as much talent as anybody in the American League, and he just can't figure it out yet. He can run, he can throw, he can play center field. He can do everything but hit consistently.
He did go too far on the bunt. Dan Isonia, the home plate umpire. Well, Frank and I were talking about this last night, that the size of the swing doesn't match the offensive production. I mean, he's going for it all in every swing. He has 1 home run.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't know what kind of hitter he is yet, and I'm sure Minnesota and Gardy is trying to beat it into his head because they've benched him and not playing him every day like they thought they were gonna when they got him in the trade. But he just got to calm down and figure out what kind of hitter he is, because he has got tremendous speed.
Tell you, when the Twins are at home on that turf, and last year when he was laying down bunts, I mean, it didn't even have to be a great bunt, a good bunt, a mediocre bunt, and he was on. Last year in spring training, Ron Gardenhire had a great line about Carlos Gomez, and Split loved it. Split must have recited this 3 times last year. Ron Gardenhire said he's an exciting player. He can hit doubles. He can hit triples. He can throw a runner out at the plate. He can also throw a ball into the dugout. That about summed it up. The Royals want to know where that pitch was, as Gil walks his second, and now Gomez at first with 2 down.
I think Gomez thought it was a strike too. He didn't move.
Uh-huh.
Said thank you, and I'll go
take
to
it.
first.
And now Nick Punto. Today's Firestone leaderboard. We'll look at the Royals leaders this year in innings pitched, led by Zach Greinke. So Zach well on his way for a 200 inning season. Gil at this point on pace for that. Brian Bannister started the season in AAA, as did Luke Hochevar. Gomez has a big lead over at first base, 7 stolen bases. He had 33 last year. Surprisingly, the Minnesota Twins are second from the bottom in the American League in stolen bases.
Well, here's one reason Gomez isn't getting out enough to steal like he did last year. And some guys have speed, but it's not usable speed. They don't have base running speed because it's a technique. There is more to it than just running in a straight line as fast as you can. And Gomez, I think, has a little bit of that in him. He doesn't have, he had the stolen bases last year, but I think he just tries to outrun the ball.
Not running, and it's 2-1 on Punto. Jamie, every time I hear someone talk about the technique of stealing a base, I remember when I was a kid and was blown away when I read an article that Rickey Henderson was not even one of the top 5 fastest guys in the major leagues when he was stealing all those bases. He was fast, don't get me wrong, but he just had the best reads and the best technique.
Absolutely, and playing with Rickey 3.5 years, he is as good as base stealer, all-time greatest base stealer. I'll bet you he had very few infield hits because he wasn't one of those guys that got out of the box down the line. He didn't have that kind of speed, but he could read a pitcher, and he knew techniques and tendencies of pitchers, and he'd get great reads on the bases. And he'd tell you about it.
Now Gil has walked 3. So with 2 outs and nobody on, back-to-back walks. And now the top of the order in Denard Span.
Back-to-back to the 8th and 9th hitter. That's not good.
And your number 8 is hitting .229, and your number 9 is hitting .214. Denard Span struck out looking to open the game. Gil struck out 2 in the first, hitting Span and Morneau. Kadire has opened this inning with a home run, 1-0 Minnesota. And that's into left center field. Meyer is there. And the Twins strand 2, but Kadire's home run on the first pitch of the inning puts Minnesota in front. power. We've seen home runs from Justin Morneau in the first 2 games, and now Michael Kadire this afternoon. So 1-0 Twins. It'll be Tien, Callaspo, and Pena in the bottom of the second inning. Ball 1 from Glenn Perkins. Tien 4 out of 7 with a walk. He's been on base 5 times in the first 2. 1-1 the count. Perkins giving up a couple of scratch hits with 1 out in the first, but got out of it, hitting Jose Guillen to ground into a double play. Tien reaching and pokes it up the middle, and Punto throws him out. 1 down. And now Alberto Callaspo.
You know, Ryan, other than De Jesus and Guillen in today's lineup, everybody else has got a very good average against left-handed pitchers. So should be a favorable day.
0-1 on Alberto. 3 hits, including his 5th home run in this series. And that's up the middle and into center field. 3rd hit for the Royals. 1 on, 1 out in the second.
He just stays with it. It's outside. He just stays on it. Doesn't try to do too much, but hit it right back through the middle. Just how you're taught to do it.
So Callaspo at first for Brian Pena. Back to You Call It, presented by Sprint. 75% saying no. Miguel Olivo should not have been suspended. Keep voting. 432, 432. Keyword Royals. Followed by a space. A, yes. B, no. Another space if you'd then like to add a comment. And we'll use some of those comments today. Royals have 3 straight switch hitters in Callaspo, Pena, and Hernandez. And the count is 2-0. Well, I had a feeling Miguel might be suspended because there was contact, and Phil Cuzzi made it seem like, you know, he had been bowled over by Olivo. You could read his lips. You know, you bumped me, and it was hardly any contact at all.
Yeah, I just have a problem with all that. I mean, what's wrong with the good old-fashioned argument? You throw them out of the game and you get fined and you move on. I mean, I just don't understand the suspension thing. It's just beyond me. I just don't like when players get suspended for just something like that. That's just a good old-fashioned baseball argument, and get fined and move on.
2nd straight inning, the Twins turn a double play, and the Royals are down in the 2nd. KCA.com. By AT&T, switch to the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. And by Colorado Tourism, plan your summer vacation at Colorado.com. Gilmesh has walked 3, struck out 2. He gave up a home run to Michael Kadire on the first pitch of the second inning. And the Twins are swinging away on the first pitch in the third. Matt Tolbert grounded out to second, first time up.
Well, Gil's velocity is not a problem. He's staying right there, 94, 95.
Tolbert looked like he was going to get a lot of playing time last year and got off to that good start early in the season. He's a typical Twins player, which means doesn't have a whole bunch of above average skills, just has a great feel for the game. But just as he started getting going last year, he wrecked a thumb and had to have surgery, and that was it. That's when KCA got a second chance and was the second baseman for the rest of the year.
They have a way to mold players or clone them or something, because they just do a great job in their minor league system, and they're told to play a certain way, or they get the certain kind of guys that they want to have, and they play the Twins way.
When a guy comes out of their system and he's a hitter, you figure he's going to be a good situational hitter. He's going to work the count. And if a pitcher comes out of their system, you know he's not going to walk anyone.
Right. They do it the right way. They're going to catch the ball. And they have so many guys year after. They have no ego guys. It's just like they're baseball players and they don't care about having their name out there or doing commercials or whatever. They're just Minnesota Twin baseball players.
Tolbert, Maurer, and Morneau here in the third inning. Right to Butler. Pretty good swing, though, going down to get it. Tolbert lines out, one away.
Isn't it amazing how big this guy is, Maurer? I mean, he is a big man for a catcher. Not even just for a catcher. He's just big, period.
Yeah, you walk by him, and he's listed at what, 6'4", 6'5", but he seems so much bigger than that. An outstanding athlete who was on his way to Florida State to play quarterback before the Twins drafted him first overall. So listed at 6'5", 225, although some will say that he might be closer to 6'6".
Yeah. So
he is still a growing young man.
I saw an interview yesterday from him or by him, and it was like, what would your dream be? And obviously that must have meant in another sport, because I'm sure his dream would be to play in a World Series and win. But he said to play in the Super Bowl and throw a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl, because I guess he was a great quarterback in high school.
That's his second hit of the series. One out, single to center. And he gets it on an 0-2 pitch. So 1 on 1 out with Morneau to the plate. Morneau struck out swinging at a fastball at 95 against Gill in the first inning. Got him to chase a fastball up. Here's the Arby's pitch by pitch from that strikeout in the first.
Fastball away. Gill had a little extra this at bat. He was throwing hard or no last time up. All fastballs there. Mix in a little curveball. Comes back with a fastball, blew it right by him.
Gill got Morneau and Span in the first. That changeup is down and away. Well, we noticed last night when Brian Bannister was pitching that his changeup was in the mid-80s. Threw a changeup at about 86 miles an hour, and Gill just threw a changeup at about 86. And when he threw his shutout against Arizona, Gill got a glove on that.
That's a break.
And the Royals get an out.
I think it hit the rubber, Ryan.
Maybe front of the rubber and popped straight up?
I think it did. His foot. Hit his foot.
Yeah, they work on that play all through spring training, don't they? Is that the first week or second week?
That's usually the second week after they get moving around a little bit. Then we hit them off their shoes. And
so runner at second for Kadire, who homered in the second inning, 12th of the year. But anyway, talking to Gill after his shutout against the Diamondbacks, noticed that his changeup was in the mid to upper 80s, and he just kind of grinned and said, I wasn't trying to do that. It was just coming out of my hand. There you go again, the ball coming out of my hand. Just coming out of my hand faster, and there's that feeling that sometimes you can throw your changeup too hard. There's not enough speed variance, but it was working for him, and it was working for Banny last night.
Ideally, you want your changeup about 10 miles off your fastball, right in that range. I'd say 8 to 10. Anything more than that or less than that it's a little too hard, but you can get away with it. If a guy's throwing 85, he'd like his changeup to be about 75, and vice versa if he throws harder.
3-0 on Kadire. Well, that certainly wasn't the case for Bannister. Now, Gill might be able to get away with an 86-mile-an-hour changeup, but Banny, 89, 90, maybe 91 with his fastball. It's not a big change at 86. But it was working.
Yeah.
That's 6 strikeouts last night. Here's today's Roadrunner Turbo Speed Pitch comparison. Gillis at 96. Perkins at 92. You can double your speed with Roadrunner Turbo from Time Warner Cable. That's the 4th walk given up by Gill in less than 3 innings. So 2 on, and Creedy to the plate.
3rd inning, he's at 62 pitches already. Going back to the changeup, Ryan, a lot of guys will throw what they call a BP fastball too. They'll just take a slight grip off their fastball, and it's not a changeup and it's not a fastball. It's just somewhere in between there that just gets the hitter out in front.
Frank and I talked about that exact pitch last night, which seemed to be more guys through that when you played.
Yes.
That kind of just not quite a fastball, not quite a change, but enough to disrupt the hitter's timing.
Yeah, just enough on the timing to get you out in front.
Creedy grounded out to Tien in the second inning. Right to Cayaspo, right through Cayaspo. Well, the difference in the game last night was an unearned run. And now an unearned run in the third gives Minnesota a 2-0 lead, and that's 27 errors for the Royals in their last 27 games.
That just kills you. 2 outs, you're out of the inning, but now Gil Mesh he's got to just pick his infield up right now. He's got to get out of this thing with 1st and 3rd, 2 outs, but you just hate to see that happen because you're out of the inning and in the dugout.
So 1st and 3rd for Mike Redmond. And when Mike Redmond's in there, at least against the Royals, you're not thinking, well, backup catcher, who, by the way, is 0 for his last 12. Not against the Royals. He is a .430 hitter against KC. There were many games, and I'm not being sarcastic, where you'd rather have Mauer in there than Redmond.
Some guys just hit well against certain teams or play well against certain teams or pitch well, and Redmond plays well against the Royals. He's a top-notch backup catcher.
2 balls, 1 strike. And he makes a living serving base hits into right field.
You talk about, we're talking about Gomez not knowing what kind of hitter he is. This guy knows exactly what kind of hitter he is and just takes what his abilities give him.
Into right center, shallow, and Bloomquist calling up Meyer, and that's the inning. But an error gives Minnesota 2-0 lead. Of science, she was awarded an Environmental Excellence Award from Bridging the Gap for her commitment to programs such as teaching children at the Discover Center and introducing young girls to science with the Expanding Your Horizons program. Welcome to the Kauffman Stadium and the Buck O'Neil Legacy Seat to Mindy Walker. 2-0 Minnesota. Home run from Kadire and then an unearned run because of an error by Tyaspo. It'll be Hernandez, Meyer, and DeJesus against Glenn Perkins in this inning. And Perkins with a comebacker and throws out Hernandez. 2-pitch and 1 away. And that'll bring up Mitch Meyer. Mitch 1 out of 6 so far in the series. Royals with 3 hits in the first 2 innings, but Minnesota's already turned a pair of double plays. Did not have a great game on defense on Monday, did Minnesota. In fact, they helped the Royals with a run thanks to an error, but a very good game last night. A potential game-saving diving play by Brendan Harris in the 6th inning on a ground ball from Jose Guillen. Meyer is down 2 away, and now they've turned a couple of double plays already today. Fans, Fox Sports Kansas City is proud to join the Royals for Diamond of Dreams, taking the field for Operation Breakthrough. We hope you'll join us here on July the 23rd at Kauffman Stadium to grab a bite to eat. On first base, you can steal a dance at second base and sip a cocktail at third base. For information, visit diamondofdreams.com.
I know Frank talks about it a lot, and I'm sure Split does. But defense is so important. I mean, it just rears its head all the time, good and bad. But we were brought up in that Royals time when defense was everything, and you concentrated on it, and pitching and defense got us championships in the 70s and 80s, and it just bites you when you don't play good defense.
David grounded out his first time. Oh, that great line that sums that up, Jamie. You can have bad pitching and good defense, but you can't have good pitching and bad defense.
No, you can't. You waste a lot of good outings.
Did he go? Dan Isonia, the home plate umpire, says no, and then he points down to Sam Holbrook, who says no. So it's unanimous, and it's 2-2.
That's all they had to do, and Oliva would be playing today.
Past the diving Morneau and into right field to Jesus, 1 for 2, and now 3 straight innings. The Royals have at least 1 hit against Perkins, and up comes Bloomquist.
Fastball up and in, he turned on it. And there's an old saying in baseball that left-handed hitters are predominantly low ball hitters, but when they face left-handed pitching, left-handed hitters are high ball hitters off of left-handed pitching.
Well, let's dig into that. As Bloomquist fouls it away.
And take it a step further, guys who hit left-handed and throw left-handed are high ball hitters.
Really?
You just keep an eye on that. I mean, I caught onto that catching, and it's something I've watched for years. Guys who throw left-handed and hit left-handed. You know, De Jesus, he's a high ball hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Guy who always came to my mind right was Steve Finley, threw left, hit left, high ball hitter. I mean, there's Todd Helton, high ball hitter. I mean, and most lefties are low ball hitters, but the guys who throw left and hit left predominantly are high ball hitters.
Well, and right-hand batters are typically good high ball hitters. Is that because there's so much more right-hand pitching that they become high ball just because, like you said, lefty against lefty, you have to be a good high ball hitter? Same for righty-righty?
Because you're trying to usually protect from that breaking ball away, so you're going to stay on the ball a little longer. So the ball up, you're constantly looking for a ball up and away from you. So you're kind of your eye level's there. Right-handers are always typically
Taste guys can't resist. And by Miller High Life. Good, honest beer at a tasty price. You were saying, Jamie?
Let's forget it. was saying Gilmesh has 70 pitches so far.
1-1 on Gomez, who walked in the second inning. Gil has walked 4. And now it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, Gomez wasn't trying to disguise that bunt at all. That almost looked like he was scoring around for a sacrifice.
Yeah, that was a weird way to try to bunt for a base hit. Billy Butler was already in, and he was going to push it that way.
4 pitches, down he goes, and that's 3 for Gil. And brings up Nick Punto. But anyway, traditionally, right-hand batters are good high ball hitters. Left-hand batters are good low ball hitters. But what I hear you saying is that, yeah, lefties are good low ball hitters if they're facing a righty, which there's a lot more right-handed pitching than left-hand pitching. But that changes if the left-hand batter's facing a left-hand pitcher.
Right. That doesn't necessarily mean the opposite with a righty on a righty, but I'm just talking about a left-hand hitter. When he faces a left-handed pitcher, they're predominantly a high ball hitter. They become a high ball hitter because they're protecting from the breaking ball that they don't see very much, and that's going away from them. You're trying to get it elevated, and you stay on it, and you don't see many balls down and in, so their eyesight changes completely when they're facing a lefty.
So 2 down. Gil going for his first 1-2-3 inning. And Denard Span checks in for the 3rd time. He is 0 for 2. No balls, 1 strike.
You know, some things are true and you don't know why. That's one of them.
And I don't know why. Over Butler. Willie over to cut it off. Span runs well. And Bloomquist holds him to a 2-out single. So a runner at first for Matt Tolbert.
Good play by Willie Bloomquist, getting over to that ball, getting turned, doing a little 360, get it in, holding a fast guy to a single.
He has almost no load at all to his swing, does he?
No, he doesn't. He's just playing within himself. He just uses his hands, tries to keep his balance.
And when I say load, I mean as far as taking the hands back, cocking and loading the hands.
Yeah.
I mean, they just kind of go from a stationary position and
go
forward.
It's very stationary. Just trying to make contact and do his thing.
Tolbert is grounded out, lined out. Gil expecting Span to take off. 12 stolen bases for Span this year. He's been thrown out 5 times. And now Span asking for time and moving around some of the dirt. He was spinning his wheels before diving back in on that last pickoff attempt, so clearing some of that dirt away for better traction.
It's a good time to try to steal. 2 outs. Number 2 hitter up. You're the leadoff hitter. You get thrown out. Tolbert leads off next inning. Royals know it. They're gonna keep an eye on him.
There he goes. And Tolbert grounds it right to Cayaspo. And Alberto ends the inning with a throw over to Butler, and Minnesota scoreless in the 4th. Sox at 7:10. We hope you'll stay for a special Independence Weekend Fireworks Friday from Hy-Vee and Pepsi. Also an Independence Honda Buck Night. Dollar specials on hot dogs, peanuts, small Pepsis, and game day magazines. That's Friday night against the White Sox. Billy Butler into center field for a base hit. The Royals have out-hit Minnesota 5-3, but all singles. And Minnesota's defense has really picked up Perkins with a couple of double plays.
Let's see if they can get something going, get the leadoff guy on. Guillen has struggled against left-handers all year.
Not in the starting lineup for the first two games of the series because of tightness on his left side, which has bothered him for a while, and now 5 for his last 29. He's ahead in the count, 2-0. Guillen grounded into a double play in the first inning with runners at first and second and one out. And with a man on in the second inning, Pena grounded into a double play. And on the hands, and Punto fighting the sun, dropped it, and an easy force at second base. That may have worked out better for the Twins because Billy and Jose are not the fastest Royals, but you lose a little speed at least with Guillen at first rather than Butler.
Yeah, he was battling it. Obviously, he didn't do that intentionally. He got down low with it and battled it all the way to the ground, but it might have worked out best for the Twins. And that was a 2-0 pitch. We talked earlier about pitching inside his glove side. He likes to go to his glove side away to lefties, and there it is, away to lefty. Now we talked about it might fit right into Tien's strength and into a righty, and he had 2-0 pitch. Guillen got too big and he jammed him with a fastball in.
Ground out to short in the second inning for Tien. I would think Perkins is pitching the exact game that the defense would like. Day game after a night game. Guys are starting to wear down right before the All-Star break. He doesn't have one single walk or one single strikeout. He has used his defense for every out.
And that's big because not only that, like you said, Ryan, day game, last game of a road trip, last game of a 9-game road trip, and they get to go home and have an off day tomorrow. So they've been in 2 other cities already on this road trip and won both series.
5 hits, all singles. Got that pitch in on Tien. It's still 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, the pitching coach for the Twins, Rick Anderson, is an ex-Royal. I don't know if you guys talked about it at all the last year. He came over in the David Cone trade. And they traded David Cone for Ed Hearn and Rick Anderson.
Now, Rick Anderson's done a great job with this Twins rotation. Guys who don't necessarily have above average stuff, but throw strikes always at the bottom of the league and walks given up. Was he that type of pitcher as well?
Yeah, he was a sinker, slider, curveball guy. Nothing overpowering, just worked real fast. I think he had a cup of coffee here with Kansas City. He mostly was in the Royals minor league system after the trade. Then went back to the Mets organization, I believe, and started his coaching career. And Gardy was an ex-Met years ago before he became a Twin. And they might have run across each other back then.
And along the lines of, if you can't beat them, join them. The Detroit Tigers trying to improve their pitching and get better control from some of their guys. They hired the Twins minor league pitching coordinator Rick Knapp to be their pitching coach this year. Figure, hey, whatever they're doing over there, we want some of that.
And it's working. Now that they've got everybody healthy, the Tigers are playing good. The Twins are Minnesota's such a stable organization. You look at Gardenhire's been there 8 years, but prior to that he was a coach on the staff. Their coaches, he's had the same coaches since day one. Their bullpen coach Rick Stomazik's been there 20 years. They don't change people. They have people. They're loyal to them, and they work with them, and they're loyal back. So I mean, it's a good organization to be in.
That's Rick Anderson, the pitching coach. Every pitching staff wants to do the same thing. Work ahead, throw strikes, locate the fastball, use both sides of the plate. The one thing that the Twins emphasize, down in the strike zone. Down, down, down. Everything down. Punto again has to fight the sun using his glove as a visor. So Tien is down, 2 away. And now Budweiser will show us what's on tap for the Royals. Thursday through Sunday, the White Sox are here for a 4-game series. And then the Royals with their final road trip before the All-Star break, 3-game series at Detroit. That's the Royals' first trip to Detroit this late in the season. And then a 4-game series rather at Boston in the All-Star break, which will be 4 days. Brought to you by Natural Light. Tolbert at second throws out Callaspo, and the Royals are down in the 4th inning. Minnesota in front 2-0. Velocity location for the most part, but now he's coming up on 80 pitches, so this is the test.
Yeah, this is the test. And they're not going to have him pitch a lot of pitches if they're behind in the game. But he's got 80 going into the 5th. The key is he's walked 4. That adds up to your pitch count. So he's got to get back into the strike zone. When Gill throws strikes, he gets people out.
So Minnesota coming up here in the top of the 5th inning. Hi. So 1-0 on Joe Mauer, who has walked, singled, and scored the go-ahead run, or the second run. I was going to say the go-ahead run last night in the 2-1 game, an unearned run because of an error, and now Minnesota for the 2nd straight game getting a second run thanks to an unearned run, an error by Alberto Callaspo, with 2 outs in the third, allowed Mauer to score. Now he's on base with a single to right center.
Been on base all 3 times, and that's, he started the year, missed a lot of spring training with the bad knee, and was it bad back? Back, yeah. And that's why they carry 3 catchers, so he can do this DH. They pick spots, let him DH, and they carry the other kid. I think it's Morales. So it's smart on their part. It lets their star player, who's a catcher, when he gets his days off, he's also being able to DH.
Oh, 0-1 to Justin Morneau, who has been at odds with Dan Isonia in his first 3 plate appearances. Struck out swinging in the first, but wasn't happy with a call earlier in that at bat. Well, Gill still at 93 with his fastball in the 5th inning, as he is now up over 80 pitches, 82 to be exact. Only a 47 to 35 strike to ball ratio, and Jamie pointed out the 4 walks in his first 4 innings. Actually, the 4 walks coming in the first 3. It's 1-2 on Morneau. Two and two. Trey Hillman saying before today that there was no specific pitch count for Gil Mesh, that they would on one hand let Gil do the talking, literally how he felt out there, and let the radar gun do the talking. If he's throwing in the upper 80s with his fastball, then that's a sign that his arm is wearing down, but we haven't seen that yet. Morneau hits it hard and deep, but playable for Mitch Meyer. He makes a good throw into second. Mauer was tagging, and now he has to hustle back to first. So Mitch took nothing for granted on that fly out to the track and center. Here's today's league leaders, brought to you by your Kansas City area Toyota dealers. The most innings pitched since 2007, Roy Halladay. That's no surprise. He's on the disabled list right now with a groin injury. James Shields. Halladay just coming off the DL with that groin injury. James Shields and Gil Mesh. 2007 was Gil's first year with the Royals.
Shields is out for the year, I think, isn't he?
I mean, look at that. I don't have him out for the year. You don't have him confused with Akinori Iwamura, do you?
You know, it could be. Yeah. Sounds like Shields. Yeah, that's the guy.
Kadire homered to left field in the second inning, walked in the third. Good curveball hits the outside.
You know, before pitch counts and radar guns, you know, the way you'd monitor pitchers, the hitters would let you know how the pitcher's doing.
Reaches out and pokes it to right, and Willie overran it a bit, and when he adjusted, couldn't secure it. So he came bolting in and then had to slow down, reroute, and is charged with an error.
You don't see that very often. He got there, like you said, right? He did overrun it. He got there actually a little too quick, and he just slicing down the line, and he just overran it, and it kind of wobbled around in his glove.
That's a second error committed by the Royals in the last 3 innings, and that just means more pitches for Gil Mesh. Unless he can get a quick ground ball and double play here from Joe Creedy.
Well, that now ties him with Seattle for most in the league, 59 errors.
And they've come in bunches lately. 28 in the last 27 games. Creedy reached on Callaspo's error in the third inning, and that allowed Maurer to score with 2 outs. Grounded out his first time, so Gill has gotten 2 ground balls from him today. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Man, I thought this guy, when he first came up with the White Sox, was going to be a star. And he probably would have if he didn't hurt his back. He had a lot of back injuries, and he's actually had surgery once or twice. But this guy was a good-looking young third baseman with power when he came up with the White Sox.
The third base coach, Scotty Olger. Well, he had a good glove and maybe didn't have the numbers that you expected and others expected, but he always seemed like the guy the White Sox wanted at the plate late in the game with the game on the line.
Absolutely. He just was, he was a grinder. He was a guy that had a lot of promise, and then the White Sox kind of let him go with the back injuries, and he's actually doing a pretty good job for Minnesota.
Gill strikes him out. So his 4th strikeout. And Creedy, disgusted with himself, immediately turned and headed to the third base dugout. 2 down in the 5th inning. And this is the part of the inning that scares you. Anytime you have an error and you think, well, this inning should have been over. And Gill has to get a 4th out. And he'll have to get it against Mike Redmond, 0 for 2. And 0 for his last 13. Well, now in the mid-90s with his pitch count. He's still throwing 94 with his fastball.
Yeah, his stuff is fine. Fastball is maintaining its velocity. He's got a nice curveball. He's doing fine. Just a lot of pitches for 5 innings.
One ball, one strike. Robinson Tejeda warming up behind Gill. So maybe there wasn't a set pitch limit for Gill today, but you figure they're not going to let him go much further past 100 pitches today. And this is pitch number 97, and it's 2-1 on Redmond.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if he comes out for the 6th inning.
Now, you were debuting for the MLB network, and you were watching this game, and you saw Scott Baker rack up quite a pitch count with some long duels and a lot of foul balls, specifically against Tony Pena Jr. and Willie Bloomquist in back-to-back innings, but grinding through 5 with 111 pitches in 5 innings and ended up with the win.
Yeah, and you're right. He was grinding and had a couple guys battling. They were stressful pitches too, so you know it got him out of the game. But he hung in there. And these are stressful pitches. You know, it's different depending on the score. And
grounded to Tien. And across the diamond, and that's the inning. So Gill gets that 4th out. Twins scoreless, but they lead 2-0. salads, inventive sandwiches, and savory breakfast items. Panera Bread, where every detail matters. It'll be Brian Pena, Luis Hernandez, and Mitch Meyer in the bottom of the 5th inning. 2-0 Minnesota. Royals with 5 singles against Glenn Perkins. Got Brian Pena to ground into the second of the 2 double plays that the Twins have turned today. That was in the 2nd inning.
You know, a positive today, what actually happened yesterday, Kyle Davies threw well again yesterday. 6 innings, 5 hits. He's now 2-0 since he got sent down.
Perkins without a walk or a strikeout. He's really used his defense today, and his defense has rewarded him for that. And Creedy in from third to throw out Pena. 1 down in the 5th inning. Let's revisit You Call It, presented by Sprint. 74% saying no, Miguel Olivo should not have been suspended. Here are some of the responses. If he got suspended for the bump, what did the ump get for the bad call? Which we wondered about that. Does that go into consideration at all, that it was not the right call, and maybe give Miguel Olivo, you know, a little grace because it was a missed call. He wasn't necessarily overreacting.
That's the thing the public never gets to find out. Does the umpire get anything, or he gets in an argument with the player because it's the wrong call, and then nothing happens to the umpire. We used to have these arguments in spring training because the umpire supervisors would always come into spring training and sit down with the coaching staff and the manager. We'd have discussions, and we'd always say, you know, players get sent out, they get their name and transactions all the time, released, put on waivers, sent out. And they got to read, and they don't like it. Players don't like to see their names in transaction. You never see an umpire's name in transaction. If he's having a bad season, why can't he get sent to the minor leagues? And they just, well, that's just the way it is, you know. It's like you're grandfathered in. Once you're there forever. And I don't think that should be that way.
Hernandez rolls to short, and he's out. And the Royals receive more bad news today in addition to Olivo. With Hernandez at short today, the Royals announced that Mike Aviles is going to have season-ending Tommy John surgery on his right elbow. Another comment in regard to Miguel Olivo's suspension. The umpires need to be fair to all players, but the players have to respect the umpires as well. It was a questionable call, but no one is perfect. And I don't think anyone argues with that no one's perfect. But what you're saying, Jamie, is, yeah, Miguel Olivo wasn't perfect, but the umpire also wasn't perfect.
Right. And what gets a player upset and the manager's upset is this. Phil Cuzzy never asked for help. All he has to do is ask for help. Did anybody see it hit his foot? They ask for help all the time, and then every once in a while they get stubborn, don't want to do it, and that's what causes arguments and gets them in trouble. If he asked for help and the first base umpire said no, it didn't hit his foot, then okay. Or no, it was a check swing. No, it wasn't a check swing. Then it's okay because you've asked about it. But when they want to be stubborn and just take it upon themselves that I saw it, that's where players and managers and coaches get in arguments with umpires.
By the way, folks, in typical former catcher fashion, Jamie Quirk has no sympathy whatsoever for Mike Redmond, who's down on his knees. So Jamie had no problem finishing his thought, because for the rest of us, we're thinking, oh my gosh, Mike Redmond just took a foul ball, and look at me, and you just went on and on about
There's nothing you can do for that right there. There's nothing you can do.
He's been there 100 times.
He's going to pat him on the back, and Redmond's ready to throw up, and there's nothing you can do. Just time will heal it.
And Redmond's going to come out. On the 4th of July, which is a 12-10 game with the White Sox, the first 10,000 ladies will receive this halter top, and the first 10,000 guys will get a classic ringer tee. Thanks to KMCI, 38 the spot. And now that we're into July, we're lucky today that we have such a comfortable day at Kauffman Stadium. It could easily be 98 degrees today, and it might be on Saturday. That's a great promotion for the afternoon game against the White Sox. And Jose Morales is going to take over.
And Ryan, that's how easy it could happen. You know, a catcher going down. I mean, if it happened to Pena, you're going to see Mike Jacobs in the game. Very, very touchy situation when you're going to go into a game with only one catcher. And that's why they carry three, like the Royals did early in the year, but that's why they carry three, because they want to have Mauer DH. If that happened with only two, now Mauer's in the game catching.
And early in the season, Trey Hillman had that luxury when John Buck was swinging the bat well. He could put Olivo and Buck in the same lineup, using one of them as the DH.
Now you got a guy, your catcher's out, Redmond's out, you got Perkins throwing a shutout, breezing along. Now you got a different catcher in the game. You know, you might see a little different Perkins right here. You know, they've had a little thing going here for 4 innings. But maybe not.
You mean like getting his first strikeout?
Yeah.
There's the different Perkins. 5 shutout innings. Minnesota's first run coming in the second inning. Michael Kadire, first pitch of the second inning from Gil Mesh off the back wall of the bullpen. Kadire's 12th home run of the year. Coors Light Freeze Cam brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Well, Mesh is back out. It's good to see. Coming out for the 6th inning, and that was his 100th pitch. So obviously he told Trey and Bob McClure he's feeling good.
Gomez, that's a fair ball, and with his great speed, that's an automatic double. And he comes rounding way around third. I think he has one gear.
This is the kind of situation, Ryan, that puts a manager in the squeeze boxes. You know, you send him back out. You know he's already at 100 pitches. He's feeling fine, but you've got a short rope on him. You got the bullpen going. Now it's like, okay, I let him go. The first guy gets a double. At what point do I pull him? You've put yourself in a tough situation because you know he's on the edge of coming out. So now, how long do you let him go?
Well, looking down into the Royals dugout, Trey Hillman sitting right beside Royals athletic trainer Nick Swartz. So they're keeping a close eye on Gil and his stuff. That last pitch was at 93, so he was throwing 96 in the first inning, and he's still throwing in the 90s in this inning. 92 on our gun, 93 on the stadium gun. 0-2 on Punto. Feel a little surprised this late in the game. Punto hitting .213 that he doesn't lay down a bunt.
Very surprised. In fact, I was getting ready to say it too, Ryan. I figured he'd just drag bunt first or second pitch and get him over there, being a number 9 hitter, and very uncharacteristic of a Minnesota team.
And Gill strikes him out, so Punto does not get Gomez over to third base. 5 strikeouts for Mesh. And fastball at 94.
He just blew him away right there.
Now, to clarify, there's a difference between a tired arm and a hurt arm, or a dead arm and a hurt arm. But can a dead arm going too far turn into a hurt arm? Or is Gill, after having a couple of outings with not many pitches, De Jesus runs up to make the play on Span? Can Gill use this outing to start building his pitch count back up again?
I think so. To answer, can a dead arm turn into a hurt arm? I don't know. I'm not smart enough for.
Sure you are. You were going to go to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But I guess the emphasis is you were going to go to Notre Dame. Okay.
Yeah. I use that as leverage. But I don't know the answer if it will turn into a hurt arm or not. But it is not hurt yet, and it doesn't look like he's hurt at all the way he's throwing. But Nick is right there by Trey, so obviously they're discussing his health. Usually you don't see the trainer. The trainer only gets near the manager with bad news, never good news.
Trainer doesn't sit next to the manager and go, boy, he sure looks good today, doesn't he?
No, yeah. Never does that.
I bring that up because, if you're a jogger and you have an injured hamstring, well, you don't want to run on that. You're just going to make it worse. But if you have dead legs, and I think most joggers can relate to that, sometimes you just need to start slow, but then you just slowly start building that leg strength up again. I'm wondering if it's the same for an arm.
Well, he laid off 2 days, didn't pick up a ball at all. So that's the start of resting, and then he probably played catch and had a light side, if any side at all, before this start. So his arm built up for 5 days or 4 days. So, and it's showing it's healthy.
He is at 108 pitches, and his last pitch was at 94. Tolbert 0 for 3. A little low.
Gill wanted that. You could hear it from up here. Could have been low. I'll give it to him. Could have been low, Dan.
Yeah, but the hitter's low.
Yeah, he's an awful low hitter.
I mean, that's getting back to our discussion a few innings ago. Yeah, that pitch is low to Joe Mauer or Justin Morneau, but is it low to Matt Tolbert? Full count.
That's about the same pitch.
Well, Gomez with a leadoff double is still standing at second base. And we'll do it again. Today's copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Kansas City Royals. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Corporation. Another 3-2. Another foul ball.
Physically, Gilmesh is fine. He has proven that today that he is fine.
That's his 5th walk and brings up Joe Mauer. So Gil is at 113 pitches and one of the best hitters in the league coming to the plate.
Well, that's not the guy to want to walk. Nobody in that Royal dugout wanted to see Tolbert walk with this guy coming up.
Trey Hillman to the stairs in the Royals dugout and then stopped on the top step. Mauer 2 for 2 with a walk and a run scored today against Mesh. A fastball at 93 and it's 0-1.
I think if Trey went to the mound at the start of this at bat and wanted to pull Mesh, I think Gil would be very upset. Let me finish this thing, and even though he's down, hey, let me finish this at bat.
Oh, and 2. Well, that's pretty good without runners in scoring position. And it is very good with runners in scoring position. That would be the best in the league. Mauer still doesn't have enough plate appearances to qualify among the league leaders. But those 2 numbers you saw there would be best in the American League. Moves him off the plate. It's 1-2.
Well, this guy will be starting at the All-Star game in St. Louis behind the plate. That's a setup pitch. He had to go inside, get him off the plate. He got a couple strikes away. He had to do something inside because Mauer is very strong in the outer half of the plate.
Up the middle into center. Gomez scores easily. It's 3-0 Twins. Tolbert to third, and Mauer comes through again with men in scoring position. And he is 3 for 3 today after going 1 for 8 in the first 2 games.
Now he goes back outside, just takes it right back through the middle.
And Trey out to the mound, and he's going to leave Gil in there. So now he's at 117 pitches. And it's Morneau with runners at first and third. And Morneau 0 for 3 so far with a strikeout back in the first inning. Well, he's still running it up there in the mid-90s.
Yeah, he's going to let him finish it off.
Now Morneau, one of the best in the league with runners in scoring position. That's still 90 points behind Mauer. 1 ball, 1 strike. Just talk about how good Mauer's been compared to everyone else. He was hitting .389 before that base hit. The next closest .373. .436 with runners in scoring position before that last base hit. The next closest .384. And you say, well, it's still early. He doesn't have all the plate appearances that the other leaders do because he missed the first month, but he's already surpassed his career high in home runs. Mentioned at the beginning of the series, he has more hits than anyone on the Royals roster, and that's after missing the first month. So he has a full season's worth of numbers. He's just done it minus the month of April. Morneau lifts it to right, and Bloomquist brings it down. The inning is over, but Minnesota adds a run, and they lead by 3 at the end of 5½. Independence, Missouri. If the Royals hit a home run in this inning, Chuck wins $200. If the Royals hit a grand slam out of the park, it's worth $25,000 from Sonic and the Royals. Top of the order against Perkins. 5 scoreless innings on 5 singles. He's retired the last 6. No walks. That's nothing new for him. And only 1 strikeout. And to Jesus with the Royals' 6th hit. Leadoff man on in the 6th. So David 2 out of 3. And in this series, 6 for 12. And now Willie Bloomquist, infield single in the first inning, grounded out in the 3rd. Perkins not afraid to throw inside. In fact, someone with the Twins told me that he is that rare combination of he is better pitching inside than he is pitching away. Can't say that about many young pitchers. Usually it's the other way around. They're comfortable pitching away but don't like to come inside.
Yeah, he's very comfortable, as we said, to his glove hand side. That's why righties don't hit him very well. He can get in on a right-hander and jam him.
Popped up. Tolbert was shallow. And Gomez comes in from center field. Willie 1 for 3. And 1 down in the 6th inning. Now the first ever Royals Hall of Fame Classic presented by Willie Wilson Baseball and Farmland Foods will take place Friday, July the 17th at 4:45. A special exhibition game featuring Royals greats against former Major League stars. Special ticket packages can be purchased at royals.com/HOF Classic. You in that game?
No.
You're not in that game?
It says former Royal Hall of Famers.
No. Former Royals greats.
That's what I mean, greats.
How are you not in that game? Billy to the gap in right center. Kadire can't cut it off. DeJesus to third, and Dave Owen is going to hold him there. So in a 3-0 game, and the Twins moved that ball around pretty good, getting it back to the infield. No chance for a play at the plate. 2nd and 3rd, 1 out.
Yeah, he tried to get in on him. Billy got nice inside the ball, hit that ball. That's a very nice swing by Billy Butler. He was trying to get in on him, didn't quite get there, and Billy took advantage of it and doubles into right center field.
And now the Royals need a big hit from Jose Guillen. Hitless in 2 trips. He has 2 runners out there in scoring position. And now Jose is 5 for his last 30. On the ground, past Creedy, past Punto. The Royals are on the board as Guillen drives into Jesus, and it's 3-1. And the tying run at first base with only 1 out.
Well, that's where Jose's strength comes in. He's muscled that ball through the infield, got in on him a little bit, but he's so strong he's able to get it by Creedy.
He has hit a lot of ground balls to the left side. The league really seems to be wanting to pound him inside. That time he gets it through the left side. And if Tien can hit at least a fly ball here, the Royals could make it a 1-run game. They would obviously like more than that. Mark has grounded to short, popped to short.
Well, Mark's got to be thinking left center field. That's all. That's what I want to do. I'm thinking sacrifice fly. If I get a base hit or anything else out of that, it's gravy. But my job is to get that ball into the outfield for a sacrifice fly.
Tien does not have a sacrifice fly yet this year. Slow roller, going to have to hustle. Out at second. Picked by Morneau. How about that? Third double play turned by the Twins. And out of all that, the Royals get one. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Jose Guillen driving in the Royals' first run in the bottom of the sixth inning, but perhaps the most impressive thing he did in that inning was this takeout slide on the double play.
That's awesome, and that could be called an automatic double play. He was in nowhere, shape, or form able to get to second base. In fact, I'm surprised it wasn't called an automatic double play. But that's a great aggressive job on his part. He's doing everything he can to get that not turned into a double play and get that run in.
Apparently it was called.
It was called
by Larry Vanover.
Oh, he did call it.
Well, I mean, he was close enough to second base. He was still in the dirt. Now, if he's sliding on the grass, I can understand. Back in your era, that wasn't called very often.
It was never called.
I mean, if you're on the same field as the guy.
Yeah. You can lay on him and wave a guy in from third base.
So Robinson Tejeda's in there. Gil Mesh going 6 innings. Velocity was not a problem. Allowed 3 runs, one of them unearned. 118 pitches. Shallow right. And Bloomquist brings it down. Kadire is out. He homered back in the second inning. One away in the 7th.
Well, this is where your bullpen's got to keep this game in check. 3-1. It's still a ball game. Royals still have a great chance to win this thing, but the bullpen's got to do their job now and just leave it at 3 runs.
Joe Crede 0 for 3. Twins with one in the second on the Kadire home run, one in the third. And Alberto Callaspo Air allowing a run to score. And now Creedy into deep left. De Jesus to the corner. He's got it. Good play. And Minnesota's third run in the sixth on a Mauer single.
Nice play by David there. He's got the wall to worry about, the corner, the curve in the wall there. He did a nice job.
Well, if you don't see that wall coming, bright orange like that, that's about as good a warning track and warning wall you're going to get in the game.
It is. It is a warning.
By the way, the official pitch count has been updated, and Gil Mesh actually threw 121 pitches, not 118, 121. So on one hand, it's a surprise that he threw that many pitches, considering his arm and how he looked his last two starts. But on the other hand, it's a good sign, I guess, that he was able to go that deep into the game.
It's a good sign he was feeling well to throw that many. You don't see that many pitches, 121 or anything near that, when you're behind. It seems like you're out of the game by then if that many pitches. But that's a good sign. He was feeling good.
Morales rolls it to Butler, and Tejeda's out of the Royals bullpen and sets down the Twins in order in the seventh. Tampa Bay, so that puts an end to Tampa Bay's 7-game winning streak. Well, there's James Shields taking the loss for Tampa Bay.
Thought he was done for the year.
I thought he was. No, it's Akinori Iwamura.
That's it, yeah.
Baltimore and Boston are tied at 5. Boston leading the East by 2.5. See the comeback that they had against the Red Sox. Biggest comeback in Orioles history. They were down 10-1 in the 5th inning and won 11-10. Markakis, who has 2 RBIs today with the game winner. Over the National League, Florida beating Washington 5-3. The Mets have lost 5 in a row. They're in front of Milwaukee, Colorado, and Los Angeles. No score. One hop to Brendan Harris, who's fresh into the game, and he handles that to throw out Callaspo. And isn't it funny how when you are fresh into the game, and by the way, that's Brian Busher at first now, the ball seems to find you rather quickly.
It's just funny how that happens, and it does happen quite often. You're fresh into the game. One of the hardest things to do in baseball is to go in and play defense, because you know what? There's nothing you can do but positive. Anything you don't, if you do not make a play, you look like an idiot. I mean, you're supposed to make every play no matter how hard or easy.
And those defensive guys don't really get a chance to redeem themselves at the plate. I mean, there's only one thing they can do to help the club when they're coming in late.
Yeah, more often than not, they're not going to get an AB.
That was under Pena's chin to the backstop, and then ricocheting all the way out to Tolbert at second base. Pena glancing out at Perkins, who we told you last inning has no problem pitching inside. Now he's behind 3-0. Bryan has grounded out twice, once into a double play. Minnesota has turned 3 double plays in the first, second, and sixth innings. 3-1. Perkins without a walk. He has 1 strikeout. Shallow center field, and Pena has his first hit. And the Royals continue to out-hit Minnesota today, but down by 2 runs. Don't forget, you can stay connected to the game on your computer. If you subscribe to MLB.tv, you'll get 100 out-of-market games per week. You can catch games you missed on demand. And a premium subscription lets you pause, fast forward, and rewind live games. So 1-on, 1 out for Luis Hernandez. Didn't really get a chance to get into it when Hernandez grounded out in the 5th inning, but we told you, if you haven't heard already, Mike Avila's done for the year. He's going to have Tommy John surgery on his right elbow.
Perkins is very efficient today. That's his 84th pitch of the day. He's doing a nice job. But it's still a ball game. You got the tying run at the plate. Get on base for the top of the order coming up.
Hit hard to left, Span shallow, but with his speed able to fade back and retire Hernandez. Pena back to first, 2 away. And now Mitch Meyer 0 for 2. Struck out his last time up, and that's Perkins' only strikeout today. Perkins holding the Royals scoreless until the 6th inning. DeJesus singled with 1 out. Butler doubled to put runners at second and third. Guillen singled. That got DeJesus to the plate. And then Perkins got Martin to ground into the Royals' 3rd double play today.
Yeah, Tehan's double play, that was a backbreaker right there. Just anything, a sac fly. And I was shocked, Brian, when you said he doesn't have 1 sacrifice fly this year. That's hard to do.
Two and one on Mitch Meyer. We've gotten some injury updates on Twins who have left the game early. Mike Redmond, who was hit by a foul ball, was lifted to have x-rays on his right forearm. Meyer into center. Gomez going to have to play it on a couple of bounces. So Meyer 1 for 3 and 2 on with the top of the order coming up. Nick Punto has a stiff lower back. And Justin Morneau with a tight groin. This might have something to do with the tight lower back for Punto.
Yeah, that's a flip. That's a big time takeout right there, and he's trying to avoid it. Jose did a nice job there.
So tying runner at first with 2 down. David DeJesus has 2 of the Royals' hits today. He has scored the only run, and he's had a very good series against the Twins. 6 for 12, getting his average up to 246.
Well, they need to get a hit here this inning or next inning, because you might even get a 4-out save, out of Nathan if he comes in, because they got tomorrow off. So basically, Trey's got to look at it like an 8-inning game, because Nathan has been so dominant that you don't want to have to try to go into the 9th inning and beat him.
There's Matt Guerrier, who got 1 out last night. Twins only getting 5 out of Scott Baker, but 4 scoreless innings from the bullpen, with Nathan walking away with his 20th save. Pena at second, Meyer at first, and DeJesus on 1 hop to Brendan Harris. So he handles 2 ground balls, and the Royals scoreless in the 7th. They have stranded 6 runners today. Gilmesh going 6 innings, 121 pitches. We've added 1 on the screen there. 2 earned runs. Michael Kadire with his 5th home run for Minnesota. Joe Mauer is 44th RBI. The Twins also scoring an unearned run because of an error. Ryan Lefebvre along with former Royal Jamie Quirk. Frank White will be gone for a couple of days. His son Terrence is getting married tomorrow, so he'll be back on Friday. So
that's
Jamie's
not a
here.
good sign, Ryan.
It's not?
I remember Terrence running around the locker room when he was 5 and 6 years old, so I better go check my birth certificate.
Gomez, Harris, Span against Robinson Tejeda in the 8th inning. Tejeda taking over in the 7th and got the Twins 3 up, 3 down. Gomez a walk in the 2nd, a strikeout in the 4th, and doubled leading off the 6th and scored on Mauer's single. Swung at a bad one. It's 0-2. Gomez was the centerpiece of the Twins Mets deal that sent Johan Santana to New York. And he got off to a fast start last year for the Twins, playing great center field, leading off, getting on base with bunts, stealing bases, hitting for a little power. But the American League caught up to him quickly, and now taking a called 3rd strike.
I saw him briefly with the Mets when he came up, and he used to bunt a lot, and I've seen he used to fly down the line. I don't see him trying to bunt at all anymore.
No. He had 1 bunt attempt in the Game earlier today, none yesterday. Well, it's such a wide range for him between trying to bunt for a base hit and trying to hit a home run. At least it appears that way with his swings. Got to be a little something there in between, right?
Yeah, they obviously the Twins' way hasn't gotten to him yet, but if it doesn't happen soon, he won't be around long because you do it their way or you're not around. But boy, does he have talent. A scout's dream, a manager's nightmare.
Harris hitting for the first time, started the first 2 games at shortstop. Brendan Harris, kind of the Twins version, and before that, the Rays version of Willie Bloomquist, the guy that's kind of labeled a utility player, but when the season's over, gets a lot more at bats than you figured. Originally from the Cubs organization, then to the Reds, traded to the Devil Rays. Then the Devil Rays changed their name to the Rays, and they traded him to the Twins. In fact, there's a couple of guys on the Twins roster that Willie Bloomquist could look to and say, hey, if it worked for them, maybe me too. Harris and Nick Punto, who came over in a trade from the Phillies for Eric Milton, was considered a utility guy and has become an everyday player for Minnesota.
It's great to have multiple position guys, but they end up playing over 100 games for you and maybe get about 350 or so at bats. Those are guys that are real valuable.
The best example this year, Jamie, that Frank and I spent a lot of time talking about, Marco Scutaro, who was just a utility guy. And what a move that was for the Blue Jays to not only give him shortstop, but have him lead off. And shoot, he's looking like one of the more complete players in the American League now.
Very impressive player. You know, when he came, when the Toronto Blue Jays were here, he looked great.
One ball, 2 strikes. Another strikeout, 2 down in the 8th inning. Tejeda's retired all 5 he has faced.
This is what they call nasty right here. Split fingered, change up, whatever it is. I mean, it's straight down.
Royals now with 4 straight games where the starter has gone at least 6 innings and has given up 2 earned runs or less. Greinke 6 1/3 on Sunday, 2 earned runs. Hochevar 7 shutout Monday. Brian Bannister 7 innings last night, 1 earned run. And now Gil Mesh today, 6 innings, 2 earned runs.
And Ryan, it doesn't get any easier when the White Sox come in. You get Burley, Danks, Floyd, first 3 out of the chute. I mean, it doesn't get any easier for the offense, so they've got to figure something out.
Oh, and 2 to Denard Span. 1 out of 4 with a 4th inning single. Minnesota and the White Sox tied for 2nd place in the Central coming into today, 4 games back of Detroit. Royals will see the Tigers after the White Sox series in Detroit. And then to Boston. They're in 1st place in the East. Very late swing and almost took out his own dugout. Royals won the first series with Minnesota in early May. This is the deciding game today. Royals with 6 outs to go on offense. Still 0-2 on Denard Span. This is been a team that has given the Royals fits over the years. Last year, the Twins were 12-6 against the Royals, but the Royals went into Minnesota to end the regular season last year and threw a wet blanket on the Twins. If they would have won 2 games of that series, they would have won the Central. The Royals went in and won 2 games, forcing a 1-game playoff. Minnesota had to go to Chicago. They lost, and the White Sox ended up winning the division. That's a foul ball.
I tell you, this has been a good, I call it rivalry because they've been in the same division forever, even when we were in the AL West. I remember in '85 we went in there in mid-September, and we went on a road trip, Seattle, Minnesota, and went 0-6. And how many times would you go 0-6 on a road trip and still make it, win your division and make it, we end up winning the World Series? But they always gave us fits. Minnesota is always one of those teams that you just battle with year in and year out.
Floating over Callaspo, Span with his second hit. And a runner at first with 2 down. Matt Tolbert coming up.
It's a good at bat right here. No stride at all. He's just staying back. He doesn't want to get out in front of anything and roll over. He's just staying inside it and just putting the barrel of the bat on the ball.
When a player is this advanced, it's tough, I'm sure, to teach a new style of hitting, but I wonder if Carlos Gomez spends any time watching Denard Span and how simple he is at the plate, how short he is at the plate.
I'm sure it's been brought to his attention. He just hasn't decided to buy into it yet. Another running situation.
And he takes off. Pena, a good pitch to throw, but it's high, and Span swipes his 13th.
Yeah, it's one of those. He's gonna take a shot at it. He's got a good lead. There he goes. It's a very good jump. Stole it easy.
To another count on Tolbert.
This is another situation. You can't walk this guy. It happened last at bat with Mesh walking him, and then Mauer hurt you. All you got to do is look on deck to see where that big boy is sitting over there. You got to throw this guy strikes.
And it's 3-0. It's a nice story the way Denard Span is hung in there. He's a first-round pick, but at the end of the 2007 season, when Torrey Hunter left as a free agent and signed that big contract with the Angels, the Royals were really pursuing Torrey Hunter. But anyway, Denard Span was the heir apparent until the Twins traded Johan Santana to the Mets, and all of a sudden Carlos Gomez arrives on the scene, and that really hurt Denard Span. He ended up beginning the season in the minor leagues, but a close friend of Torrey Hunter, and Torrey Hunter said, hey, you may not understand what they're doing, but trust them, keep playing hard. The Twins know what they're doing. You'll get your shot. So he started the season in the minor leagues, and in early April, Michael Kadire gets hurt. He gets a call up to the big leagues, never played right field as a professional. Ron Gardenhire plugged him in there. Kadire came back from the DL, Span back to the minors after playing well. Kadire gets hurt again. Span called up again, becomes a regular outfielder, and now he's the leadoff hitter for the Twins, and Carlos Gomez is the guy that's fighting to stay in the lineup.
Yeah, and he's learned how to play all the positions. He plays center, left today, right. He's really adjusted there.
Swinging away on a 3-0 pitch. Minnesota takes a 4-0 lead. How about that call?
And how smart is that? They know that they're not going to want to pitch to Joe Mauer, so he lets his young little short second baseman Tolbert swing 3-0 because they know he's going to say, hey, here comes a fastball right down the middle. Go ahead and take a whack at it, and burned him.
Tell you what, though, Jamie, that puts some pressure on Tolbert, too. Could you imagine if he pops up on a 3-0 pitch with Mauer on deck? Some guys don't like hitting on 3-0, but he put a pretty good swing on it.
You're absolutely right, Ryan. It takes a lot of guts on his part to go ahead and, hey, I've got the green light, but that doesn't mean I have to swing at it.
And because of the throw to the plate, Tolbert moves up to second base. Well, the Royals won't mess with Joe Mauer with Brian Busher on deck. Mauer's already proved his point today after not doing a whole lot in the first 2 games. 3 for 3 today with a run scored and an RBI. But he will not get a chance to add to the Minnesota lead. He'll go to first, and Brian Busher will bat with 2 on and 2 out.
Well, it hurt too. He strikes out the first 2 guys of the inning. You got 2 on, nobody out. Then Span has a nice at bat, gets on with a base hit, steals second. Then Tolbert gets a 3-0 fastball for a base hit. And now they got an extra run.
Trey Hillman is out. John Bale is in. Runners at first and second and 2 down. Brian Busher coming to the plate. John Bale is into the game. Bale giving up a 2-run home run to Justin Morneau in game 1 of this series, but he also got a big double play from Joe Mauer, which kept the Royals lead at 2 runs. Could have been a lot worse if Mauer doesn't hit into that double play. And Bale ended up getting a hold in that game. Soria the save. But Bale's had some rough outings lately, and his ERA is up to 7.15. Tolbert, who has driven in the run, is at second base. Mauer at first. He was intentionally walked. And Brian Busher, who came on defensively for Morneau in the 7th, hits for the first time. Missed outside, ball 1. Morneau was 0 for 4 today. He left with a tight groin. Busher was in the game on Monday night. He was not in the original starting lineup, but Joe Creedy was scratched late. And Busher was 0 for 3 with a walk.
I tell you, Minnesota's got a nice bench. They've got 3 guys that started the game on the bench in the game now. And you still got Delvin Young and Kubel on the bench to do anything that you need him to do yet, and they're leading 4-1. They've got some nice players.
Just missed, 3-1 and no swing. Sam Holbrook down at third base. Matt Tolbert on a 3-0 pitch with Joe Mauer on deck, given the green light, and singled home Denard Span. And all this started with 2 outs and nobody on. Robinson Tejeda striking out Gomez and Harris. Then Span singled, stole second. Tejeda falling behind 3-0. Bob McClure going out to the mound. I don't think he was happy with the way Tejeda was going after Tolbert. And then, like a snowflake falling out of the sky on July the 1st, Tolbert swinging on 3-0, shocking everyone, but driving in a run. With the runners going, that's fouled away.
That's knowing your players' confidence, and he figured Gardy gives him the green light, and Tolbert's not going to swing from his rear end and try to hit a homer. He just laid the bat on the ball and took his little line drive base hit, but it was a gutty call.
I mean, if he pops up on 3-0 with Mauer on deck, it looks bad, but it's a great call when it works. Runners on the move, another walk, and they're loaded up for Kadire. One of the walks intentional, but still the Royals have given Minnesota 7 base runners by way of the walk today. Also have committed a couple of errors. That's 9 free runners.
Yeah, you miss out on your lefty-lefty matchup, and now you got to go after Kadire.
And Kadire homered back in the 2nd inning against Gilmesh. He has 4 grand slams in his career. And now Pena wants to go out and talk to Bale. So a frustrating game so far for the Royals, but on one hand, I'm sure feeling somewhat fortunate they're still in this game.
Absolutely, Ryan. I mean, they're playing, things are happening like it's 10-1, but it's a 4-1 ball game, and they've got 6 more at bats or 6 more outs to swing the bats.
And again, Bob McClure out to visit the mound. Usually not a good sign when the pitching coach goes to the mound twice in the same inning.
In the middle of the at-bat, I think Mac's upset with the way he's pitching around the strike zone instead of being aggressive and go get these guys.
Final game of this series. Tomorrow the White Sox are in town for a 4-game series. Will be in HD. Brought to you by Time Warner Cable, where HD is free with digital cable. Royals live at 6:30 with Joel and Nate. And Jamie and I will have the game at 7:10. 3-0. How big and how bright is Michael Kadire's green light?
As big and as bright as can be.
But, and I don't know if this is the case with Kadire, some guys don't like to swing on 3-0.
Absolutely, and there are quite a few guys that don't, and I'm talking about really good hitters, just do not prefer to swing 3-0. They're going to get another one.
Bases loaded walk. It's 5-1. The Royals have walked 3 straight hitters, one of them intentional. So Trey Hillman gave John Bale 2 men to face. Both of them walk. And now Roman Colon comes on to face Joe Crede. top of the 8th inning. Roman Colon is the 4th Royals pitcher, and he is the 3rd in this inning. And what makes this such a painful inning, Jamie, is this all began with 2 outs and nobody on base.
2 strikeouts and nobody on base, and then the bottom fell out. Base hit, 3 walks.
Bernard Span singled, stole second, and Matt Tolbert, and that's the play of the inning so far, with Joe Mauer on deck, a runner at second, the count 3-0. Matt Tolbert given the green light. Singled home Span. Mauer intentionally walked, and then Brian Busher walked. Michael Kadire walked, and that forced in the second run, and now they're loaded up for Creedy. Slider for strike 1. Creedy today is 0 for 4. Lost an extra base hit in the 7th inning on a nice running play by DeJesus into the left field corner. To the right side, Callaspo to Butler, and that's the inning, but Minnesota adds 2 to the bottom of the 8th. Twins lead by 4. And Glenn Perkins is out after 7 strong innings. Second straight start that Perkins has given up 1 run in 7 innings, and now it's the knuckleballer R.A. Dickey. We saw him on Monday night. He gave up 1 run in his 1 inning, the 7th.
Maybe that's what we needed to get Dickey. To get Perkins out of there, get Dickey in, and see if we can mount something in the final 6 outs of this game.
The stat that has hurt the Royals perhaps the most in this series: runners left on base. They have left 6 today and 27 in the series.
Yeah, that's quite a few.
Tolbert fighting the sun into shallow right. Bloomquist is 1 for 4. Royals baseball brought to you today by Natty Light. Now you're talking. And that brings up Billy Butler, who's had a good day. 3 for 3, couple of singles and a double.
R.A. Dickey's been around. He's been in Texas, Seattle, I believe, over here. He's been a journeyman. He's used to throw a knuckleball exclusively. Now I think he's not quite every single pitch, but he'll mix it up. But he's definitely a journeyman. Keeps battling and finds a way to get to the big leagues.
And using that knuckleball to stay in the big leagues.
Yes.
Interesting story. The Rangers took him in the first round of '96, but before they signed him to the big contract, he was going to get about $800,000 as a signing bonus, but they brought him into Arlington to examine his arm. Left center field, Gomez, long run. What in the world? He took his eye off the ball, leaping up against the wall, and the ball landed on the warning track. So Billy will take it. He's 4 for 4.
Yeah, I don't understand what Gomez was doing there. Trying to get on Sports Center or something. The last 15 feet he ran, he just looked at the fence. He never even looked up at the ball.
He was expecting a great play at the fence, but the ball hit the, if anything, it hit the bottom of the fence. I don't think it hit the top of the fence or even the middle of the fence. So runner at second, one out. Jose Guillen 1 for 3. He has driven in the one Royals run. And it's 2-1. So anyway, R.A. Dickey going to Arlington to have his arm examined just to make sure there are no structural problems before the Rangers were going to shell over $800,000. And of course they'll check the rotator cuff and the cartilage in the shoulder and the elbow. Span coming up. And Guillen is the second out. And then they check the all-important UCL, ulnar collateral ligament. And when that goes, that's Tommy John surgery. And as they were examining the UCL, they discovered he had no UCL. He was born without one. So he hadn't had any arm troubles, but he just was born without it. So the signing bonus went from $800,000 to $75,000. He ended up having surgery on his elbow the next year. And it wasn't until 2003, 7 years later, that he got his first major league win.
Yeah, the 1 year I coached in Texas, he was there in spring training and battling his way, and he hadn't started really throwing the knuckleball. He actually had a big, huge curveball back then. But I was thinking if you don't have that one nerve, Ryan, you're going to save the ball club money because you won't have to get a Tommy John surgery.
Yeah. How can you tear it or rupture it if it doesn't exist?
Yeah. That should have been a good thing.
One and two on Tien. It was 0 for 3 today. R.A. Dickey made his first major league start against the Royals back in 2003. Fooled badly by the knuckler, and R.A. Dickey turns in a scoreless 8. pitcher. Gil Mesh, 6 innings, gave up 3 runs, one of them unearned. Robinson Tejeda gave up 2 runs in an inning and 2/3. John Bale faced 2 batters in the 8th. Both walked, not charged with any runs, and Roman Colon got the final out. And now Mayhay, he'll get Jose Morales, Carlos Gomez, and Brendan Harris. Morales batted in the 7th inning and grounded out. Earlier in the game, Twins catcher Mike Redmond taking a foul ball off of his right forearm. He had to leave the game and was taken for x-rays.
They've got one last chance in the 9th, but then they've got to come right back tomorrow and turn it around against the White Sox, who they've got for 4. And these division games are huge. It'd be nice to finish out right in the division right before the All-Star break, and then you go to Detroit. It's also ahead of you. The teams that are ahead of you in the standings, I know it's only July 1st, but these games are important.
10 consecutive games, including these 3 with Minnesota against teams in the Central Division. 2 balls, 1 strike. Nine and a half back for the Royals coming into today, but 3 teams to pass. Callaspo throws out Morales, 1 down in the 9th inning. Detroit is trailing Oakland in the 6th inning, 2-1. Chicago and Cleveland will be playing later tonight.
I watched that game last night, White Sox Cleveland. Cleveland just does not look good at all.
There were a lot of people picking them to win the division this year.
Yeah.
Although this was one of those odd years where there wasn't one clear-cut favorite, that you could make a case for every team in the division finishing in any spot in the division.
But everybody in the division, even Cleveland, has a guy or 2 in their lineup that are studs. You know, the White Sox will see the next 4 days. You know, obviously Minnesota, Morneau and Mauer. I mean, you know, everybody has, you know, Victor Martinez, and they all have a guy, but the Royals, they don't have a guy.
They've got a few guys in there that they hope would become that guy. Billy Butler, his numbers have improved since moving to the number 3 position on a regular basis. Jose Guillen, who's been out of the starting lineup the last 2 days, not where he would like to be at this point. Martin's been batting 5th lately. Hernandez throws out Gomez. So Gomez 1 for 4, 2 down in the 9th inning. Of course, Alex Gordon on the disabled list. Royals hoping to get him back after the All-Star break.
I mean, there is no dominant team in this division, like you were saying, Ryan. There's a lot of time left. They just got to keep plugging away, try to get guys hot, get the pitching staff in order, get the bullpen going, and shore up the defense. I mean, that sounds like a lot, which it is a lot, but there's still 3 months to go to do it.
The question becomes, though, with the first trading deadline now 30 days away, how much longer do you hang in there, and when do you start looking towards next year?
And that's a huge question for this organization because of the fact Dayton's going to get a lot of phone calls about these players, and they have value to other clubs because they're nice complement players. A Martin, a great David De Jesus. You know, maybe they're asking too much of them here, but they're very nice complement players on other ball clubs. and they're going to get phone calls about him. And at what point do you decide to pull the plug and trade him? And now then what are you saying to your fans? Are we giving up? So there's a fine line there that this organization in Dayton and his people are going to have to figure out what to do.
1-2-3 ninth inning for Ron Mayhay. AT KCA will have Boulevard Royals live after the game. Brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, Kansas City's beer. Also interviews from the field, highlights, and a preview of the next series for the Royals against the White Sox. R.A. Dickey will stay on for the bottom of the ninth. Alberto Callaspo, Brian Pena, Luis Hernandez coming up. Not a lot of punch with those three hitters, but they're all switch hitters. So they should be prepared for whatever Ron Gardenhire wants to do. Sean Henn, a lefty, was warming up as the Twins were batting in the top of the ninth, but Dickey stays in the game. Callaspo 1 for 3, singled back in the second inning. There's the knuckler, which he throws at different speeds. That's a hard knuckler at 75 miles an hour.
It's such an unusual pitch. I mean, you know, playing against Charlie Huff and the Negroes, and they threw it every pitch, and they had different speeds, and they could make it break different ways. It was, I mean, I don't really understand. You know, look at Wakefield. I don't understand why more fringe pitchers don't try to pick it up.
From 75 to 55, back to 75, and Callaspo flies out to right. I've always wondered, Jamie, if you have a knuckleball pitcher, that's such a tough pitch to manage if you're the pitching coach. I mean, when you go out to the mound, I mean, it's not like, you know, you can talk about the grip of the curveball or if a guy's wearing down or, you know, what do you say? Your fingernails good? I mean, how do your knuckles feel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure pitching coaches shy away from it. They don't really, you know, they don't know what to tell a guy. I mean, I'm sure in Boston, Wakefield might have his counterpoints that he talks to John Farrell about and say, hey, when I'm doing this, just remind me or get me back into this, and probably works well after you've seen him enough. But going right in, I mean, most people have never thrown a knuckleball, so how do you stay consistent in teaching it or whatever he needs to hear?
Brian Pena trades a bat for a hit. He's 2 for 4, 1-on-1 out in the ninth.
There it is, the old knuckler. And that one kind of ran in on him a little bit. Got him right below the barrel, cracked his bat, but he got a base hit. He'll take it.
Luis Hernandez 0 for 3 so far.
Well, they get another guy on. It's a safe situation, so I'm surprised Nathan's just not kind of tossing down there.
One ball, one strike.
Here we go. As we speak, somebody's getting up.
Well, they have a direct feed of the broadcast down into both dugouts.
Yeah, there's Joe. She's going to get up now.
One ball, two strikes to Hernandez.
That was my job as a bench coach. I always remind Hurdle when it becomes a safe situation in games like this, so you get your closer and he might end up getting a cheap 4-run save, and they've earned those at times too.
Dickey strikes out his second, and 2 down in the 9th inning. So it's down to Mitch Meyer, 1 out of 3 with a single his last time up. The Royals have stranded 7 today and 28 runners in this series. And Jamie and I were talking a couple of innings ago about how the Twins now have a comfortable lead, obviously, but it could have been a lot worse. They have left 13 on base today.
Yeah, they've had a lot of base runners with the 8 hits and the 2 errors and 7 walks, I believe it is. So they've had their share of chances to blow it open. They've kept the Royals in the game, and the Royals haven't been able to come up with that big hit.
Twins have won the last 4 series here at Kauffman Stadium, 1 out away from making it 5 in a row. They have won 8 of their last 11 games at Kauffman Stadium. 3 balls, 1 strike with the Jesus on deck. The Twins have never, sorry Jamie, have never all season long been 2 games above 500.
Ryan, one thing that's scary about the Twins is they have yet to put their run together at home. They've always been a notoriously great home team, and they're not yet this year. So that's scary because they're eventually going to reel off 9-10 in a row at home like they always do, and that's probably what they're thinking too.
Pena running on the 3-2 and a walk, so 2 on for DeJesus. The Royals still breathing in the 9th.
Well, it's a save. We'll see if Gardy wants to come out and see if Nathan's ready. I'm sure you got him up to use him. You might as well use him if you got him up. Nobody's moving. Here he comes. Yeah. Why get him up if you're not going to use him?
So Nathan, who saved it last night, will go for his 21st today. pick up his 21st save of the year. All he has to do is get one out.
Ryan, I think they got to pretend this is Kerry Wood out there, and we haven't had one of those comebacks again, like 4 down in the 9th inning against. But anybody can do it with no outs. Try to do it with 2 outs.
Only 2 blown saves for Nathan, and he has converted the last 15 in a row. David DeJesus coming up, and the strategy here for the Royals are hoping David gets on. Mike Jacobs behind him would bat for Willie Bloomquist, and Jacobs represents the tying run. So David just 2 out of 14 against Joe Nathan. David ended the game against Nathan with a ground ball to first last night. Nathan retired Guillen, Hewlett, and DeJesus to save it in last night's 2-1 Minnesota victory. Right at him with a fastball at 93. David 2 out of 4, and in the series 6 out of 13.
I tell you, since the day they got Nathan, he's been about as consistent as any closer in the game.
One and one. Frank and I went over the story last night. Began his professional career as an infielder, moved to the mound where he was a starter, moved to the bullpen with the Giants, but he only had 1 career save when the Twins traded for him and made him the closer. Took over in 2004. Eddie Guardado had been the Twins closer, and he moved on to another team.
Was that the Pierzynski deal he came over? Yeah.
For A.J. Pierzynski, the Minnesota Twins got Joe Nathan, Francisco Liriano, and Boof Bonser.
That was a good baseball trade. I mean, A.J.'s obviously a good player, still playing. We'll see him tomorrow night with the White Sox, but this has been a great trade for the Twins, too.
2-2. Three innings, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts in Nathan's last 3 outings against KC. Fouled away. Even though Nathan was the closer, he still had to establish himself in 04. Confidence for himself, the team having confidence in him. And the turnaround was here at Kauffman Stadium in April of 04. He got out of a bases loaded 1 out in a 1-run game. And that's a long time ago now, and Nathan's become a very wealthy man since then. But it was right here at Kauffman Stadium where the Twins kind of went, okay, this is our guy. And Nathan kind of walked off the mound saying, all right, I'm a big league closer. I can get out of spots like this. And the torch was passed on from Guardado to Nathan.
I tell you, Ryan, sitting here with you doing this game, it's like sitting with Vin Scully. The stories, I mean, that's like growing up. I grew up in Los Angeles. You did too. You know, you heard them as a kid. You've got some great stories that go along with these players.
I will. You don't have to do it. I'll send the letter to Vin apologizing for that comment you just made. In fact, if he's listening, Mr. Scully, I'm sorry. Jamie got up very early this morning, flying from New York back to Kansas City, and had one too many Monster energy drinks. Denard Span into the corner, slamming against the wall, and the Royals still alive.
Now you're being humble, and I'm being serious.
The Royals missed Francisco Liriano a few years ago when he was dealing. Seems like every time the Royals faced the Twins, he was not in the rotation, but that deal looked really good 3 years ago when he was pitching the way he was. Nathan was closing games, and Boof Bonser was part of the rotation.
Now he's out for the year, right?
Yeah, you got that right.
That's the guy.
Him and Akinori Iwamura.
I knew it was that.
You can see Mike Jacobs behind David DeJesus, and Royals hoping that David gets on, and Mike Jacobs with his home run power could tie this game.
It's a nice 8-pitch at bat right now. Now we need positive results out of it.
Just got a piece of it.
Let's just look at Nathan's numbers. He's got 39 strikeouts in 31 innings and 6 walks. That's an outstanding ratio.
Here's a story for you. There have been very few blown saves for Nathan against the Royals, but I remember the last game before the All-Star break in 05, Mike Sweeney had an at-bat like this against Nathan that just went on and on. He finally homered. I think the only other blown save was last year, Mark Tien with that 3-run inside the park home run. Other than that, when Joe Nathan comes into the game, it's been bad news for the Royals. Payne at second, Meyer at first. The Royals need another runner. And Busher has it to the bag, and for the second straight game, Joe Nathan ends the game with a save by retiring David DeJesus on a ground ball to first base. So the Royals win the first game of the series, but the Twins come back and win the next 2. And that's 5 consecutive series that the Minnesota Twins